like everybody was here before, and like really early. It's like they couldn't wait for you.
I guess so.
Now, as you obviously all know, Eliza Callard is our featured reader, and as she came here for the first time, it seems like it was a couple of weeks ago, but it was probably a year ago.
July, yeah, something like that.
And said, you know, I don't read in public, and I'll read this one, and it was like, and it was, you know, like everything stopped, you know, and you know, you could see that she had something special at the time, and evidently it's caught on because now she's like all over the place. You've really established your presence as a poet in the area, and we're really happy for you, and we're really thankful that you remember where your roots. So you know, we can enjoy having been the little people that you knew on your way up.
While I was clawing my way to the top.
But Eliza, and it is a claw. It's always a claw to the top, and it's always a struggle, no matter what you're doing. And among other things, that's what Eliza writes about, and about her own personal struggles and about all of our struggles. It's a universal thing, and she's just a fabulous poet, and I'm sure you'll enjoy her, Eliza Callard.
Wow, this is a lot of people I know. A lot of different parts of my life. My brother is terrified of worlds colliding, he says, but I actually kind of like it. So, like, you know, Sangha people meet piano teachers. You know, childhood people meet college people. So anyway, it's kind of awesome. If you got Mike's blush-worthy email about me, you know that the first poem that I always start with is Pills, which I just like this one the best. I'll tell you right now. And all right, I'm just gonna read it. Okay, Pills. Every day I consume many colors, white and blue, pink, translucent as a pale winter sun. Some I could crush to a powder, some I could puncture and watch thick red ooze smear my hands. Fat in the middle, round like a flat earth, capsules you could shake like maracas. I have ingested the weight equivalent of an adult male gorilla, or an anoa from Indonesia, similar to the water buffalo. I have swallowed one for every resident of Copenhagen, or the South American country of Suriname. When I was 6, my parents brought me into the living room, dominated by a burnt orange rug, and told me about allowance. When all the yapping was done, they handed me a dime, slim and small, and so I took it. Metallic, yes, but with a human hand tang. Right down the hatch, pressing the back of my tongue flat, following it with a drink in the kitchen. It makes sense, therefore, that when he died, choking on the same disease, I dreamt of swallowing him. He was a sparrow, being tossed like a football, until I intervened and caught him. His tiny bullet body, the heart fluttering to stillness, the feathery heat in my hand turning to cold, and so I ate him. No chewing, just opened my mouth and down he went, until he reached my chest and lodged, a pill that requires more water than I can ever drink. So, as literally everybody in Philadelphia knows, I have cystic fibrosis, and I don't always write about it, but I thought I would start with that one plus 2 others that are about it today. So these 2 are about my friend Joy, who I also went to college with, who has cystic fibrosis and lives in Florida. She got on the lung transplant list a year ago. She's a year younger than me, and which makes her 40, by the way. This one I wrote when she first got on the list. So it's called Number 3 in Line. They will crack open her tiny chest. They will reach in with their gloved hands and lift the sodden lungs out to a silver tray. Then these miraculous pink things, intricate as loofah sponges, strong as a woman's life, waiting on another tray, will be lifted in, clamped, and cajoled to stay, stay. Where will she be for all this? Floating, only a ribbon to keep her from drifting away. And then the air bursting in. A parent with an adopted child, she will beg for acceptance. And this one I wrote when we found out that Joy had been given less than a week to live if they didn't get the lungs to her. I was so upset when I heard this. And by the way, I'm on a medication right now that does help my migraines, but also gives me dry mouth, so hence the water. And I was so upset by this that Emily said, we had like a free Saturday, and Emily said, let's go somewhere. And so we went to the art museum. So this one's called Trappings. For her husband, she ordered 6 suits of armor, etched with vine leaves to catch the blood on the battlefield. I have come to spend Saturday at the art museum. My wife takes my arm. We glide from island bench to island bench in the vast rooms, talking art and joy, my friend dying while she waits for lungs. A horse's armor comes adorned with a dragon, as if the steel spike on its head is not fearsome enough. Joy is on a ventilator, breathing icy oxygen, asleep and speechless, while I rumble on with questions about art and the use of art on the utilitarian and the weight of all that steel, pressing my wife to know the point, to explain the point of everything. So, to counter the depressing poems, I brought a couple that are about Emily, who I met 18 years ago, thanks to this person right here, who introduced us. And
Oh, all your connections are right here.
oh, everybody, like literally everybody I know is in this room. Yeah, yeah. I'll just start with this one, which is Rendezvous. How can we sit at the coffee shop, politely drinking coffee and ginger beer, when I know the briny smell of your scalp and the curve of your bicep? Your eyes are like 3 drops of food coloring, brown after green after blue. But I have seen past that to the place where all color begins. More than just eyes meeting, eyes stopping to see. A nod, an acknowledgement, an agreement. We have dog-eared our book again. Your ring is twisted. I hold your hand and twist it back. So, 23 years ago, at Thanksgiving, right there? Yeah, at Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I was alone in my dorm room and sophomore year of college up at Skidmore, and I woke up at about 4 o'clock in the morning vomiting and laughing, and realizing that I was gay. And I was like, oh, that's what's been going on all this time. I had no idea. It was a complete shocker to me.
Is vomiting always part of it?
I don't know. I never heard anybody say that, but it was definitely part of it for me. I was just like, and it's in a similar fashion to discovering that I was a poet, in which I also woke up retching and laughing.
That's understandable.
When I told everybody, they were all like, well, yeah. So when I told them I was gay, they were like, really? That's big news, Liz. And similarly, I woke Emily up at 3 o'clock in the morning, February 8th last year, and said, oh shit, I'm not a novelist, I'm a poet. And she was like, I know. So anyway, this is the poem, the one I just read, Rendezvous, that I wrote for her birthday about a week before that made me realize that I was having a little bit of genre orientation problems. You don't know what team you bat for all the time. So this one's called Length. And where's my water? There it is. And this one I wrote years and years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was 2008, before I came out as a poet. This was called Length. The length of you encircles me, and when I awake, I am a Russian doll, captured finally in your limbs, which fold around me like snug-fitting wings. Your chin rests on my ear while my heels push down your feet. You are the length of me, and I am growing into you as a tree swallows a rope into its branches. Infected with your laugh, your face so close it coats my cheek, and I speak with you as a filter. The length of you clasps me, and I am a Russian doll. What am I reading? Okay, I got it here. Oh, yeah. So I was pulling these poems together to read and realized that this spring I wrote just a gajillion poems without realizing it, all about water or about the weather or like elements and stuff. So I brought along a couple of those. You may not know this, Michelle, but this has actually got a line from you in it. So there you go. It's called Parlez-vous. I forget that I breathe best underwater. The pool is unfairly cold, which burns my toes, but releases my face. With each stroke, I lose track. Should I inhale on the stroke that pulls me up and out, or after the fall of gravity has brought me home? She swoops up her coffee, forgets what she was going to say, extends her dancer's hand in a defeated gesture, and says, "Talking is not my first language." Our gills wave hopelessly in your air and your words. Put your fingers over hers, and she will know. Bubble out in the shower that you love me, and I may finally hear you. Wow. I do actually a lot, although for some reason this is the only one in this group, a lot of persona poems, where it's not from my point of view, it's from usually a made-up person's point of view in this case. I think that makes it easier to kind of get sometimes at emotional things that I don't want to deal with on my own. But the persona can kind of change how I see it. So this is about a woman taking her first swim after her husband has drowned before. It's called Water Widow. Before the ached bromide stench can jerk under my nails, children's hollow ceramic voices find me. The shrieks, the splashes he must have made, the pressure of submersion. The salt pool my face has been swimming in for 7 months. The showers I have taken without receiving their gift. The urine I have made, the apple juice I have ingested, the dehumidifier in the basement and the humidifier in the bedroom, the sluice of my hands at the tap, the raindrops for my hyacinths, the bowl I have laid down for the cat, the thinner of my soups, the maker of pulp for the paper I print on and the books I read, the bricks, the streets, the air. All I eat and need and touch shrieks and splashes to remind me that I am not to forget that everything is on fire now.
Wow.
I'm going to use my test case. Dad, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Ask Luke if he can hear you.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta pinpoint the people I know have trouble hearing stuff. So Big Blue Marble last year actually had in I guess it was probably April, they have a poetry gumball machine downstairs, and they put up in poems, and they wad them all up in these little gumballs, and you pay 50 cents or something, and you can get a poem out. I don't know if they still have it, but anyway, so I applied for that, and I was one of the people they stuck in there. And just put in 50 cents, my head comes out. So this one's called, and this is about a different kind of weather event. It's called Clean Your Room. I am the daily tornado that strikes your room and spreads the socks. I am the daily tornado which leaves half-read books and one-day worn socks by the side of the bed. I am the daily tornado who eats sticky things and leaves the plates behind to lie on the socks. The socks. I am the daily tornado, and I will find you, and it is not your fault. I'm just going to go with this one. It's called You Never Know What's Going to Wash Up on Shore. Except we do know. We know the flotsam that fell off our boats, the jetsam we threw off. We know the shells, the critters alive and dead, bits that crackle and scrape underfoot, the pebbles smoothed by the nervous thumb of water, the driftwood reaching out to be part of the story, the foam, the dirty foam. But when a great whale of memory or the masthead of a buried time comes surging in with the tide, is it any surprise that it knocks us down? So, going back, oh sorry sweetheart, going back a long time when I would write poetry, I always wrote in form, sonnets and stuff. But I kind of mostly do free verse now, but occasionally kind of a made-up form hits me. So for this one, I decided to have the name of an element in each of the first 4 stanzas, and then allude to all 4 elements in the second to last stanza. And this one has an epigraph by the guy who we buy all our vegetables from, our farmer George, and it's called Recipe. And George says, "A deep love of nature is the essence of a rounded meal. Stand on the back steps, draw in a breath all around your mouth, the sweat naked as if you've just shaved off your goatee. Let your hands spoon the air as you walk to the field. Flatten one hand against the soil and use the other to stroke the plant that grew from the earth. Snip the stem of the pepper with humility, with the humility and awe you had when you cut your son from his mother, lifted him from between her wet thighs to her chest. Under the tap, push your gritted thumb over the waxy skin. The water will wash you both. Rest the pepper on the grate above the fire, letting any remaining moisture spit away. Turn the stem until crackling brown spots consume the surface. Under the tap, help the pepper slough off its outer skin. Chop, cook into stew. Put the cluster of seeds onto the compost pile. Breathe the musk. Find the seedlings. Repeat every day and every year until you and the pepper cease. Become the nourishment for another hungry being."
Beautiful.
So, we are down to my last 2, and then it's opened up to an open mic, and then I have a couple, just 2 extras for the end.
Great.
Okay, cool. So I write a lot about the Wissahickon, which is where we got taken a lot by my parents, me and my brother. This one, though, is in particular a response to all the things called nature poem written by people who are not city dwellers. So it's called Nature Poem. Worrisomely fat dog, a silken nut brown ale color, belly swaying near the bouldered trail with his wolfish mates. A family under the budding trees, the girl twisting a butterfly net in her hands. What are you trying to catch? Anything. Pit bulls Hazel with the wet grin, and Pele, licking and nibbling so vigorously, he awakens the years-old bone bruise where a stranger punched my jaw on a crowded street. Instant friends with t-shirt-wearing Phillies fans, commiseration alone our bond. Woman with animal medicine tattoo covering one calf. The wolves are being slaughtered, she says, and hikes ahead. Overheard, is he friendly? Yes, but he might try to steal your stick. River water sparkles like the equalizer on a hi-fi. So this last one is one that I thought I had lost forever until I found it, and I'm looking at you, Mom.
Yeah.
I found it. I found it in the in your files, and I must have given you a copy of it, but not had a copy myself for some reason. So I don't know if I should blame you or thank you. But seeing as you're my mom, I should probably thank you.
When a tornado comes through, you never know where the poems are going to
Yeah, exactly. So this one is also about the Wissahickon, and it's called The History of Everything. Oh, and a side note, I one time went to a poetry reading in college, and this very depressed looking woman who had a lot of like gothic eye makeup on and stuff, goth I guess, got up and stood in front of us and said, I've written a 31-part poem on pain, part one.
Oh.
Boy, she reads that whole poem. So anyway, this is slightly longer than I usually do. Yeah, very but it's still not that long. So, the history of everything. 1. Geology. Slices of rock 1 inch thick lean like playing cards, as tall as me. Rock formations with drops of white lichen like paint. 1,000 million flecks of silver glint from Wissahickon schist, from buildings built from that rock, from creek beds, bridges, and walls. Hauling ourselves up rock faces any real rock climber would call horizontal. 2. Biology. And mosses. Dry and pale, springy and inviting, flowing underwater like hair on the heads of naiads on a protest march heading upstream. Robins hunt in the cold earth, and my grandmother once sent a Christmas card with an English robin on it and told me that robins were bigger and brighter on my side of the Atlantic, like everything else in America. 3. Physics. The weir is the loudest I have ever heard it, but twist away above, and the woods are silent. 4. Psychology. We are the only ones who have ever been here, I say, despite all evidence to the contrary. Dog tracks, footprints, real live trail runners wearing white and yellow spandex. This tree that has met an axe. History. The paths are old. Indians used this forest before the forest was cut down, and the mills came, and the mills left, and the forest was replanted. There's a statue somewhere of Teddy Uskung with a feathered headdress scouting the land. On paths, in the forest, near bridges, next to the creek, is evidence of the WPA, of men who would have been unemployed but for the government's sudden need for an overlook, or a bench, or a little cabin. They blend in the way men would have become faceless in a soup line, and make work is now beauty, and uselessness has created a place to sit. 6. Genealogy. There are ducks, which reminds me of dukes, which is what my great-great-auntie F called people back when my mother and father honeymooned in Kent in her cottage before moving to America, to Philadelphia, where I was born. On Sundays, my family came here to hike through this forest in the city. They taught us to be atheists, to find our souls in this place instead. My older brother and I tracked deer, swung on vines, stalked each other. 7. Anatomy. On the path, I pass a woman who smiles, half recognizing me. More than 20 years ago, her one daughter sat in my lap and screamed for an hour, crying for Mommy and Daddy. The other repeatedly demanded a book called Mom and Dad's Special Hug, depicting two cartoon characters naked on a bed. I think she knew more than I did. 8, pathology. A pool of water under a bridge invites me to drink. There is a documentary about sewage in these waters, says my wife. But it looks clean, I say. Despite the rest I needed on that rocky overhang, my legs feel stronger than they did when I was a child, when I whined that everyone had longer legs than me, that they should wait, that I would never move faster. Today, I pant, I wheeze, I cough, but I walk. 9, anthropology. The curve of my wife's jeans ahead of me sustains me until we join the main path. Sprawling mansions pull us up and out to the road. A sticker on a stop sign announces a concert by G-Love and Special Sauce. A croissant, a coffee, art on the walls, newsprint. The history of food, joy, home, arrogance, humiliation, color, silence. The history of everything.
And we're supposed to have an open after Eliza has summed up everything. I'm not sure what more there is to say, but we'll find something to say. But thank you so much for such an endearing reading. It's really wonderful to see here. I'm sure everybody's glad that they were here, even though we had a squishing room only. But thank you all for coming, and thank you for marvelous reading. Let's see. Back to where we started.
Yeah, thank you. And so these last two are about poetry. The first one is about the places that I work. It's called Baristas. The pierced guy knows more than you want to know about the history of the bean. For her, it's coffee until something better comes along. You are not the something better. Another one can't remember to make it decaf. In one shop, all in blue shirts and khaki pants. Down the street, Angel Face wears distracting cleavage and a pout, as though tired of people staring. The one with the all gold sings along with the music, and the one with the silver knuckle rings makes it a perfectly pitched duet. He holds the mystery of mocha in his slim fingers under the black press-on nails. The sleepy guy, just as mysteriously, doesn't have the knack. She waves her hand when you forget your wallet. This one doesn't know you at all. So the last one is Robert Pinsky was the poet laureate in America from 97 to 2000, I think. And his project was to ask, quote unquote, ordinary Americans to say their favorite poem, and he would sort of collect them into books with the preface of what the person said about it. So I've read those books, and they're wonderful, and they often have poems that I know that I go to read the blurb that somebody has written. They're so lovely about, times that has helped people. And the thing I like about Pinsky is actually, I like his poetry too, but I really like his message that poetry is everywhere, even if you're not a poet. So this one is called Poetry is Found for Robert Pinsky. Waiting by the tree in the cemetery while you bury your dead. Hands behind its back, singing into the softness of your mind, holding in its shadowy hands your chest of grief. In a golden cap and gown, in and out of sight, dancing with its head thrown back to drink beer with you and help you wave your diploma. In bed, the darkness under, the glow over your lover, slipping around like your hands shimmering with invisible satin. You lament that all your words are the words of others. Your hands hold it, wrapped in hers, your emerald mind crackling with clarity on the facets of your wedding day. Friends declare it. You and she, two suns, radiate it. In soft webs at every moment, holding you as your fingertips test the water to wash the dishes, as you watch sprays of rain on the window screen. Thank you again, you guys, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and next month we have Roger Lowenthal.